First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my half-brother out when he was handing guests invitations at my wife's funeral? My male 39, wife of 6 years, passed away from breast cancer 3 weeks ago. It's devastating, and I'm barely holding it together. I used to sleep either at the hospital or my dad and stepmom's house. He supported me at the time, and I also have a 29-year-old half-brother. My brother's wedding is in 3 months. When I came from the hospital and sat and cried, he brought up the wedding planning with his mom and talked about the venue/menu and ignored me. He made backhanded comments like, I can't imagine this happening to my fiancé, saying I'm not doing enough, constantly comparing me to him, and how he would have done more. I stopped going. I'd rather sit alone in an empty house than listen to him. At the funeral, he came with my stepmom. His phone didn't stop ringing. Everyone noticed. Then later when the guests were sitting inside the house, he kept asking about certain relatives to see if they came. I was with my dad at the time. Once the guests started leaving, I saw my brother standing by the door, handing guests envelopes, then shaking their hands as they walk out. I didn't know what he was handing them, so I walked up to him and asked him. He showed me invitations for his wedding that he was handing out to guests. I was stunned. I asked if he was serious. He said there are some relatives/family that live out of town who came to the funeral, and he wanted to do an actual hand delivery from his hand to theirs, saying mailing invitations didn't feel proper. I lashed out at him, and he said no one noticed, so it was no big deal. He just wanted to make sure everyone got an invitation since the whole family was there. I was so mad. No wonder the guests gave me weird looks before walking out. What's worse was that my wife's family saw this and were upset, and I feel awful and embarrassed. I was infuriated. I yelled at him and told him to leave immediately. My dad and stepmom and others got involved, but he left after I insisted. My dad berated him, but just said that this is how he is, being insensitive. My stepmom said that I shouldn't have kicked him out in front of everyone, her side of the family, and disrespecting the family. She said no one was noticing, and that he thought this was an opportunity for him to make sure they know about his wedding. I argued with her and other family members for hours about it. My dad's side of the family said they were upset because of what he did, and my stepmom's side of the family were upset I kicked him out. My stepmom is now contacting me to get me to talk to my brother and get right with him. To add, my stepmom never sees anything wrong with my brother's behavior, no matter what he does. She always tries to defend him, either directly or indirectly, and Dad isn't doing a damn thing about it. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Who in their right mind thinks handing out wedding invitations during a funeral is okay? That's the most insensitive thing I've heard of. And what's wrong with mailing the invitations? I've known many people to send them through the mail and have received them in the mail myself. It's so commonplace. I'm so sorry your own brother did this to you. Not the a-hole. At some point, you likely need to RSVP that you aren't going to the wedding. I don't think your brother will intuit that. Be sure to give his intended an early heads up on why you won't be there. I'm so sorry for your loss. Not the a-hole. Your brother is selfish and unsympathetic, and your wife deserves to have an undisrupted service. I'm so sorry for your loss and wish you the best. If anyone embarrassed your family, it was your brother, not you. They told me kicking him out was extreme, yet saw nothing wrong with him doing what he was doing, excusing his behavior, saying that no one noticed. But he was giving the invitations to guests who came to mourn and extend their condolences. I'm not even sure if they think that I was okay with that, but their looks were telling. Not the a-hole. Having his phone on alone settles it for me. The rest is even worse. Since when is a grieving spouse no one? I bet everyone was keeping quiet. They understood you were the one to be protected and/or were confused if the serious breach had your okay. I guess you need to hear this. Your stepmom and brother are toxic. I think it's telling you referred to him with a half qualifier instead of brother with the same parent. Info, you don't have to call him family at all. Toxic families always go after the one with good boundaries, never the offender. Not the a-hole. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for saying my sister is not welcome in my home? I, 20 female, live with my best friend/roommate. I have a sister, 21 female, and a brother, 23 male. My sister and I have a pretty rocky relationship and I don't like having her in my space. Living with her for 18 years was hard enough, and I swore I would never do it again. She always wants something and is pretty toxic, accusing people of doing stuff to her and turning her back on people. Some examples. She befriended a girl who bullied me for years and brought her home for Christmas my last year living with my parents. This is a girl who bullied me to the point my parents had to change my school, and then she cyberbullied me. Her best friend's stepbrother treated her horrible for existing, and my sister ended up dating him and telling her best friend to get over herself. Then told everyone her best friend was a selfish baby for trying to interfere in her love life. More recently, she told our parents that she found out I broke the cell phone they bought her when she started high school, but actually, she sold it so they would buy her a better one, and she used that money in makeup. So now, she's now a single mom and she was kicked out of her place before Christmas. She asked to stay with me, and I said no. I told her to go to our parents. Our parents were disappointed and said I should have let her stay at least for a night. They then wanted to know if I would let them all come for Christmas, and I said no. I told her and them that she's not welcome in my home because I don't trust her. They think I'm being really unkind. I just don't want to be around her toxicity. My brother says I'm doing the right thing, even though I never had issues with her. But he knows she doesn't care about screwing people over and would never consider their feelings. She told me that if I won't ever let her into my home, then I can never have a relationship with her daughter. I told her that was her choice as her daughter's mom. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I have a sister who's a full-blown sociopath who also engages in these same types of shenanigans. Calling it shenanigans is like saying kids who rip wings off of insects are playing. These are people straight up terrorizing. Not the a-hole. You don't have to justify or explain. It's your place. Your parents probably didn't want her at their place. She can suck it up because she burned the bridges you guys had. Unless she shows improvement, you owe her nothing. Even if she does somehow become a better person, people can change. OP is still in no way obligated. Family is important, but family is also what you make it. She owes her sister nothing. Not the a-hole. She's toxic and you don't need to put up with her anymore. Everyone else can suck it up. On to the next story. Am I the a-hole for making my brother miss his important flight? I, 24 female, am close to my brother, 29 male, but is pretty unreliable. He is late for absolutely everything. Everyone in our family knows this. Background. A few weeks ago, our sister, 27 female, got into a terrible car accident. She spun out on black ice, a semi-truck hit her head on, and she ended up in the hospital. Her little car was totally and completely crushed. It's a miracle that she's alive, and we're also grateful that it turned out okay. Well, this incident really shook me up and gave me a wake-up call. I've been extremely nervous to drive after seeing my sister's totaled car, so I have been super careful. I go the exact speed limit, or under. I keep longer lengths between myself and other cars. I don't do anything risky at all. I know it sounds a bit paranoid, but the accident is still so fresh for our family. A few days ago, my brother had a job interview in another state. He asked me to drive him to the airport in the morning, and I agreed. I told him I'd pick him up 30 minutes earlier as I refused to speed for him. I reminded him of our sister's accident and how I'm trying to be more careful driving on icy roads. He told me I was crazy, but he agreed to be ready at the time. The morning of his flight, I arrived at the agreed time. Of course, in typical fashion, my brother was running late. We ended up leaving an hour later than he had planned because he wasn't fully ready. The whole ride to the airport, my brother was yelling and swearing at me to speed up, because he was going to miss his flight. I went slightly over the speed limit, but I told him I didn't feel comfortable going faster in traffic. Also, the roads were slick. I started panicking. He continued to huff and puff and flip out at me. When we got to the airport, he grabbed his bags and sprinted inside. I left. He ended up texting me that he missed his flight, and that I ruined his job opportunity for being a freaking coward. He won't talk to me at all now. I feel really bad for making him miss his flight and job interview, but I won't apologize for being careful after our sister got into a traumatizing accident. Am I the a-hole? As the old saying goes, lack of preparation on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. You told him you'd pick him up at a certain time, and he was an hour late. Accident or no, he's the one who was not responsible with his time management. Not Dayhall. By the way, sorry about your sister. My fiancé has me commute in his SUV-style car because he calls my little commuter an accordion waiting to be smushed. From what I've read, he was an hour late to his original time. So, he was late for 90 minutes. Not Dayhall OP. Not Dayhall. He was an hour late. Not you. He inconvenienced you by making you wait while he finished getting ready. He sounds narcissistic and immature. Please don't do him any more favors. And this would be the case regardless of the sister's accidents or his willingness to speed. Not Dayhall. His inability to be ready on time caused him to miss his flight. If he had his stuff together, you would have never needed to rush. That, Adobe made a prudent decision by driving carefully instead of recklessly in unsafe driving conditions. The brother does not get to risk others' lives as well as his own, just because of his own tardiness. Now, for the last story, am I the a-hole for kicking my son out of my house after he cancelled my job interview? Please hear me out first. I'm a single mom, 45, of a 20-year-old son, Chris. Chris is in college and he studies engineering. Being a single mom at a young age was not easy for me. Despite everything I've been through, despite my own family giving up on me, I made sure my son got the life he deserves. He was/is my everything. I worked several jobs that were different from each other's, and I was able to own a home after years of renting. More importantly, I was able to provide Chris with an opportunity for an education. Recently, Chris moved back in with me because he no longer could pay rent. His next semester is starting soon, and he's been talking to me about the possibility of selling my house and buying a house in the city where he studies, so he would no longer pay rent and said it was better to move. I declined, for several reasons. 1. I grew up here. My old friends live here. 2. The city is expensive. 3. This home means a lot as it represents my hard work and sacrifices. Chris didn't like that. He threw a fit and kept bringing it up trying to convince me to do it. Last week, he kept pressuring me. I told him that I found a potential job at a company and it was an opportunity because I've been looking for 3 months. He took it as an I don't want to move because of my new job, but it's not true. Yesterday, I found out that he contacted a company and canceled my interview and then deleted my email. I use a computer and it's in the office, so he gets access to it. He told me he wanted to check his college website for some reason, and I thought nothing of it. That was the night before. I found out yesterday morning that someone canceled my interview. I confronted Chris about it. First, he denied. Then he said that the company wasn't what I deserved anyway, and I can find a better position when we move to the city. I was so mad at him for ruining this for me and pressuring me to move, leaving me no choice. I felt as if he was trying to sell the house from under me. After he said he found a potential buyer and just wanted to make things go smoothly, and all I have to say is yes. I yelled at him and argued with him, telling him that he was an adult and should manage his own issues. Told him to get a job but not expect me to turn my life upside down for him. He yelled back, saying I was selfish, and I ended up kicking him out of the house. His aunt knew and was yelling at me for what I did, saying I was treating him poorly and he was hurt by me. Just to clarify, his aunt is my sister. She doesn't have children of her own, and Chris considers her as a second mother to him. She's always defending him no matter the reason. He hasn't left town yet, and she wants me to call him. Now, for the top comments of this post. Not Dayhall. He is 20. Legally, your house is under your name. He is doing shady things like that around your house, then he is being shady in general. When it comes to family, it is difficult to do anything negative, but he needs to learn about consequences. Make him pay rent, a normal rate, no discount. If he wants internet, then he needs to pay for it. Lock your computer, and if he complains, then give him $10 and tell him to go to the library. Now for the aunt, tell her that you needed a job, and if they don't listen to both sides of the story, then they can screw off. Not Dayhall. If you ever accept in your home again, charge him rent. He's being extremely ungrateful and entitled. It is none of his aunt's business, and her son needed the reality check. I never expected this from him. I don't know why he thought by doing this he'd be convincing me to move out and sell the house. Moving is not easy, and I believe that is my decision in the end, despite him being desperate. He shouldn't expect me to put everything on hold, leaving everything and move to the city. Not the a-hole. Your son is a user. He wants to use mommy's money to buy himself a house in an area he wants. To live in without having to lift a damn finger, pay any money out of his own pocket, or do any of the work. This move benefits him only. In his fantasy land, he doesn't have to pay rent, he doesn't have to work, he doesn't have to commute. He can just depend on mommy to pay all of his bills, buy him his dream home, and go to college with no worries. He destroyed your job prospects, and you may not be able to get an interview again, because this type of interference looks really bad and will be difficult to explain to an employer. Your son is delusional if he thinks he has any entitlement to use your money and the sale of your house for his own personal gain. He deserved a reality check and be removed from the home. Not the a-hole. If Auntie thinks you're being cruel, she can take him in and see what happens. I don't have a good relationship with her, and so she finds this as a chance to berate me and be protective of him. I'm not sure what he told her, but he shouldn't have done that. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.